This month, it'll be exactly a year since I joined XRX, and during that time, a lot of people have asked me, Ryan, why did you join a Russian guild? Because I'm quite clearly very English, and I can't speak Russian. Well, this is why. This is why I've joined a Russian guild, because we do shit like this. Before XRX, I was in a sugar guild, and I remember that they migrated to our kingdom, and on the first day there, they zeroed a 1.4 billion might player completely by themselves with no help, which is a heck of a feat for a 30 billion might guild to do. And I just remember, I wanted to be in that. I wanted part of that. And here we are 1 year later, rallying BREN CHONG, who is probably one of the most widely known players in the game, because he was the first major titan. I'm going to go over his composition here. You can see this guy's got almost 100 million of each T3 and almost 20 million of each T4. But most importantly, he has no T2. And that's what makes this zero possible, even though he's in his gold champ gear with a gold emperor piece. Now, we've been preparing for this zero for a very long time, guys. I remember the first time I heard about it was back in September, where Skipper, my R5, messaged me on Viber. He posted a photo of BREN CHONG's troop composition and he said, I want to zero this. And I said, that's not possible. But, well, here we are now, in Kingdom 67, about to start rallying him. Although the BREN CHONG account is mostly inactive, he does change gear very rarely. Normally he stays in his Emperor gear, but occasionally I see him in familiar gear or something. So ideally, we wanted to wait until he changed into something that wasn't war gear, but he hadn't changed in ages, and so we just kind of got fed up with waiting. I actually nearly missed the first rally. It was from Wolf Basil, and everyone was kind of holding their breath, waiting to see what the result of the first rally would be, because the result of the first rally is what is going to set the pace for this zero. It's going to tell us how long this is going to take, and how many losses we're going to have. But Basil does take him down 13 million might on the first rally, which is around 500k T3, and that's a good sign because it means that it is possible to damage him even though we don't have the strongest leads. If we keep going, it will be possible to zero him. BREN CHONG is in a cavalry formation, which is actually a big problem for me because my troop composition is a range reinforcement trap, so I don't have much T2 range, of course, because I get T4 range reinforcements, and I ran out of range after a couple of rallies. I didn't think it was necessary to train at any range before migrating over, because I didn't think there was any way that Bren would be in a cavalry formation. Either he would have to be in infantry or range. And although I would have needed to send range eventually, because after his infantry had gone, we needed to send range, and then if he was in range phalanx, after his range and infantry had gone, you would need to send range as well. But I didn't think this zero would go through at all, for several reasons. Firstly, and by the way, it's not because he was unzeroable. A lot of people were saying, oh, you're going to zero yourselves before you zero him. All those people haven't done the math. Almost every guild had the maximum amount of players online possible, and rallies were being filled almost instantly with 50 to 80k marches. And if you send an 80k march and that rally gets eaten, you get 32k dead troops. So 32k dead T2 per rally. Now we are running about 5 rallies, and let's say it took 100 rounds of 5 rallies to zero BREN CHONG. So that would be 500 rallies in total. After 100 rallies get eaten, if you filled with about 80k, then that would be 3.2 million T2 dead per filler. Now, unless you have under 5 million troops, 3.2 million dead T2 is not really zeroing yourself, is it? Now, we had so many players online and the rallies were being filled so quickly that I learned there's actually a maximum amount of players allowed to join a rally at once. It's 30 players. So we had over 30 players online helping to fill these rallies in just our guild alone. The only players that might be at risk of zeroing themselves are the rally leaders, because they're sending, they'll be losing 150k T2 per hit. But to combat this, if you saw from the first rally, I looked at what troops Shivak was sending. Instead of sending T2 range buffer, they're actually sending a mix of T2. So their T2 counts won't get zeroed as easily because it's spread across all of their T2, if that makes sense. Anyway, going back to what I was saying earlier, this zero was theoretically possible, but practically it wasn't going to happen. Because firstly, there will still be people in the game from A to Z, And because Bren is the owner of a company, I believe, of course, there will be ways to contact him at any time of the day. So unless Bren and his cousin were on a weekend camping trip far away from civilization with no Wi-Fi, of course, people will phone him and he will come online to save his account. Also, something I've noticed with these big players whose zeros are being broadcasted to the whole game, you get players from other kingdoms migrating in just to help with the reinforcement effort. And I don't fancy our chances of completing this if Bren did start getting reinforcements, which towards the end, before he shielded, he was beginning to get reinforcements, and there were players from all kingdoms migrating in. Some came to help. I saw on Tashi's stream, he wanted to come over and take part in the zero, but there are other players migrating in and joining Sky to begin reinforcing him, and even if, but after we managed to finish his front line, it would be extremely difficult to get through those cavalry reinforcements. We would need to start coordinating rallies exactly and have so many rallies hit range first, then have infantry rallies hitting after. The only way this would have been realistically possible is if no one outside of this kingdom knew that we were zeroing Bren, but that went out the window very quickly because I started receiving mails from people, some people I knew, some people I didn't know, from other kingdoms asking, are we zeroing Bren? And I had to reply yes. So obviously someone saw what we were doing and posted all over the line groups. And it does kind of piss me off that there are so many people who were actively trying to sabotage our attempt. So we just wanted to have fun, we just wanted to try and zero Bren, and everyone was trying to contact him, and that was a bit annoying. I want those people to think about how it would feel if they were trying to do something similar and we're just trying to wake up that player. I mean, that would piss me off a lot. But yeah, I'd already prepared myself for the fact that this wouldn't work, and it didn't work. Like, what I predicted happened exactly. But guys, what's the point in not trying? We have to keep pushing the envelope, we have to keep trying zeroing big players, and it's really hard to find another target like Bren, because everyone builds T4, T2 troop compositions, and if that was 20 million each T4, 100 million each T2, I don't think we'd even make it to his troops. Our rallies would be crushed within seconds. Even if the chance of failure is 99.99999%, I think it's worth for that 0.000001% chance of winning. I mean, even for the experience alone, just being able to migrate to this kingdom and zero BREN CHONG, even though we came online, even though we lost troops, it was good. It felt good, felt satisfying, and even after we shielded, we were still going around and rallying members of the kingdom. So even though 67 is a dead kingdom, there are still some big players there. So we went around and set like 5 to 6 rallies on as many players as we could. Most of them shielded. We did end up burning one guy online, which I'll probably show in another video, and there are still some targets there. You guys will know how this video ends, because you've already seen it on other streams, videos, or if you watched it in person, you know that eventually BREN CHONG will teleport away and shield. Now, a lot of people, well this kind of like BREN CHONG forced to shield thing has become quite controversial, because people are saying, he shielded because he was busy or he didn't want to deal with the rallies, and I like to think we scared him, because if he wasn't scared, he wouldn't have shielded. He hasn't shielded in years, he's just sat there, and we increased the threat level to him. So now it is too dangerous for him to sleep unshielded, because he knows we're going to try again. You can give me any reason or excuse you want as to why he shielded, but the fact remains that he did shield. We forced him to shield. I have actually been in line groups with Lolo before, and I asked him once, why don't you just dismiss the troops so you can migrate and continue having fun with the account? Because at the time he was complaining that he couldn't migrate because of how big he was. And he said he didn't want to dismiss them because of how much they cost to build. Well, we just gave him the chance to kill those troops without having to dismiss them so he could migrate and continue enjoying his game. Well, he chose to shield, and afterwards he built back a couple 100 million might worth of T3, and people are saying, well, they don't want the legend to get zeroed. BREN CHONG isn't really a legend anymore, guys. He was a respectable player in his time, but now his account is far behind the now standards of a champ player. After he quit, I guess the legend remained, as he used to be still the largest might player in the game, until that was finally surpassed by Gao, and then after that tons of other players started going above 10 billion, and now it's quite regular. So the legend of BREN CHONG doesn't really exist anymore, and he's kind of just a box of troops waiting to be zeroed. I guess I can't really understand the desire to continue protecting an account that you're not ever going to use and will not ever allow it to be usable because it can't migrate due to the high might. It's really disappointing that he did shield, because all he needed to do was change phalanx and heal. I mean, there's not really more we could have done after that point. Of course, we would have stopped. We would have had no choice but to stop. And then he could have just gone back to sleep after that. That's what I would have done if it was my account, which I wouldn't even be in the situation, because I would have dismissed the troops and kept playing. But I would have just changed phalanx and gone back to sleep. A lot of people aren't going to like my opinion on what BREN CHONG's account has become now, but I've never been one to keep my opinions quiet, and I always stand up for what I believe in. Now, I've talked for 10 minutes already, got nothing else left to say, so I'm just going to play the music for the rest of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed watching us try to zero BREN CHONG. No doubt we've got more amazing zeros down the road for us in the future. Leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and definitely comment. Thanks for watching, guys.